Hi there, I'm Phil the Practical Gardener. This particular tip is 24.16, growing sweet corn. There are two main reasons for growing sweet corn at home. The first reason is that it is part of the taste of summer. Just as we like to pick tomatoes or melons from our garden, sweet corn is a delightful crop to grow, cooked fresh for ourselves. The second reason is that we like our sweet corn to be sweet. When we harvest sweet corn, 25% of the sugar is converted into starch within 24 hours, and the process continues thereafter. So if you pick it directly and then cook it straight away, then you will get the optimum sweetness from it. You cannot do that from shop-born sweet corn. The main disadvantage is that sweet corn takes a lot of room. I use about the equivalent amount of space in my garden as I do for potatoes, and not everybody has that much room. However, you can grow sweet corn in smaller areas, say within your flower garden or in pots. When you do that, you do need to remember the key aspects of sweet corn that I'll be getting onto soon. That is, it needs full sun and it needs a lot of fertility and water. So you can't just scratch an area amongst shrubs, for example, and then expect to grow decent sweet corn amongst that. However, if you grow it well, it does look great if you have it amongst flowers, for example, because it has a spectacular and tropical appearance to the foliage. Sweet corn is a warm season crop. Don't sow it too early, as it dislikes cold, wet conditions and is frost tender. There is no harm in waiting for reliable warmth, as the plants grow really quickly. Wait until the soil is at least 15 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't bother to measure the soil temperature. I do find that in early spring we have a lot of rain and the soil is cold and wet and quite anaerobic. So when the soil is reliably drying out between rainfalls and becomes easy to dig, I know that it will be ready for the corn because the soil will have warmed up as a result of being drier. I grow my corn in raised gardens, which do warm up noticeably more quickly than beds at ground level. This bed I'm standing in doesn't have fixed sides. I have simply heaped the soil up to about 20 centimetres or 8 inches above the surrounding paths. You can sow the seed earlier in punnets with individual cells, but I don't bother. It can be a good idea to sow several crops through late spring to get continuity of harvest. Always plant in a situation such as this that receives full sun. Also, it is better to plant in a block rather than a single row, as a result of the pollination requirements, which I'll discuss in a moment. Also, the plants are prone to being blown over, so the plants are more likely to support each other. Unfortunately, corn is shallow rooted. However, it does develop these prop roots which help to stabilize the plant. It is important not to disturb these prop roots through cultivation. You can stake the plants or the overall block, but I don't bother. Corn is also a very hungry crop. You can add fertilizer at the planting time and also as a side dressing during the growth of the plants, but I don't bother. As a result of the way that I build the fertility of my soil by returning all organic matter to it, as shown by my cover crop here, I never add any supplements of any kind. See my tips under section 7, Soil Care, to learn how to improve the fertility of your soil. I fork my soil deeply before planting. I usually allow a few days for any clods to dry out a bit, then rake the bed over for planting. I sow several rows about 60 centimetres or 2 feet apart. I rake up a furrow along these rows and I sow 2 seeds in each spot around about 20 centimetres or 8 inches apart. By planting the 2 seeds, I more or less guarantee I will get at least one germinating. I rake the soil back over and tamp it down. Then I put my netting hoops over the rows until after emergence. Young corn doesn't like competition from weeds, particularly during the development stage. Soon after emergence, I hoe the inter-row shallowly, as corn doesn't like disturbance either. Then I hand weed among the plants, which includes thinning any multiplants to a single one. As you can see here, I do leave some companion plants that have emerged. Companion plants have a lot of benefits. See my tips 10.2 companion planting and 24.4 vegetable companion plantings, plus my tips in section 7, that is soil care. As a result of my companion planting, I never have trouble with the main insect pest, corn earworm, which is the same insect as tomato fruitworm. As the corn plants develop vigour, They won't suffer any competition from these plants. This year I might have been a little bit enthusiastic about the number of sunflower plants that I let grow amongst my corn, but I can be a little bit of a softie at times. As the plants grow, they need little further weeding. However, you may need to water them to get best results. Pollination can be a problem in home gardens. The plants are normally pollinated through wind pollination, causing transport of the pollen from the male tassels at the top of the plant to the female silks, which emerge from the top of the ear that will become the young cobs. In a field situation, pollination is pretty well guaranteed by the sheer quantity of plants and therefore pollen. However, in a smaller bed, this can be a problem. There are several ways to ensure pollination. The surest way is to snip off several sections of the tassel and rub them over the length of the silks. You need to do this while the tassels are young and shedding pollen, and the silks are a fresh, creamy colour. The first indication that the cobs are ripe is when the silks have turned a dark brown. You can do a check on the ripeness by scratching back the husk to reveal the ears. They should be a pale yellow, and you should be able to squeeze one with your nail, releasing a milky liquid. Harvest the cob by twisting it to one side. A reminder to eat the corn as soon as possible. So that's it for this tip. I hope you got some value out of it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so, and also like this tip so that you will be sure to see other tips as they become available. And thank you very much for watching this through to the end.